Hello again. I do hope that viewers are preparing themselves for June the 22nd. This will mark 75 years since the arrival of the Windrush, the ship which signalled the beginning of large-scale immigration to this country from the Commonwealth, principally, of course, the Caribbean and Indian subcontinent. In the description to this video, I give links to a couple of charities which are taking full advantage of this anniversary to launch a sustained propaganda campaign portraying the Windrush as being a great blessing to Britain because it brought to this country many people who wish to contribute to our welfare and prosperity. These are not the only organisations that have sprung up with this aim in mind. There's a few of them. I thought I'd just take two. One in particular I'll talk about in a little while. These organisations are part of a very large propaganda campaign which is just beginning to kick off, the aim of which will be to persuade people that diversity has been an unalloyed benefit to Britain in the past, but also to soften us up for the next large wave of immigration which is due over the next few years. No attempt is made by these people to conceal what they're about, which is to tackle people like us who are dubious about the advantages of immigration and to get all waverers on side. A consensus appears to be emerging, both in the government and in some magazines like The Economist and so on, that another 1 million immigrants a year is probably the right level to be aiming at in Britain. But there is an awareness that not everybody will be wildly enthusiastic about such a project, and so work needs to be done. Allow me to quote one or two passages from the website of British Future, a registered charity which is celebrating the arrival of the Windrush, but is also very gung-ho about future immigration too. Here is how they describe themselves. British Future is an independent, non-partisan think tank and registered charity, engaging people's hopes and fears about integration and immigration, identity and race. These debates, from EU migration and refugee protection to integration and combating prejudice, can seem noisy and polarised. Well, they can indeed seem noisy and polarised because a lot of us are sick of immigration and want to see an end to it, and we can be quite vociferous about that. British Future know this perfectly well, for they go on to say, "We help immigration and refugee advocates to unlock public support, identifying messages and arguments that reach and persuade the anxious middle, the majority of the British public who are neither wholly pro nor anti-immigration. We identify new messengers and help build coalitions for change. We engage legitimate concerns and offer constructive policy solutions in response." Stripped of the verbiage, this talk of unlocking public support means that they are organising a propaganda campaign to prepare us for the news that rates of immigration are rising and likely to rise even higher in the near future. That's why, of course, they will be identifying what they call new messengers and building coalitions for change. They give the game away by talking in a neutral way about finding out what people think, saying, "We conducted the national conversation on immigration, the biggest ever public consultation on immigration, in which over 19,000 people took part via meetings of citizen stakeholders." What will they do with all the information that they gained? Why, they're going to use that knowledge to help immigration and refugee protection advocates. In other words, they're not trying to listen to people's concerns at all. They have their own agenda. They already know that they're ferociously in favour of immigration. They get people to talk to them so that they can find ways to get their views overruled or to help people argue against them. The whole thing is a sham. They're using those meetings to find out what it is that makes people anxious, and then they help advocates for unrestricted and large-scale immigration to get round people so they'll put up with more immigration. This is just one charity which is riding on the back of the Windrush 75th anniversary business. Many others are also getting in on the act. Expect to hear a lot between now and June about the contribution which black people from the Caribbean have made to this country. Rishi Sunak and all his cabinet want more immigration. This is going to be the year that immigration really takes off. 500,000 in 1 year, as we saw last year? You ain't seen nothing yet, folks. The propaganda machine is gearing up to persuade us that another million people a year is vital for this country's survival. It's not true, but this is what we're going to be hearing between now and June the 22nd.